All right, welcome to the Oregon Ducks Live on the Voice of College Football. I'm Bjorn Bergstrom.
I'm Brody Gobler.
We're missing Brendan Eberle today. He's sick again. He missed last pod, so it'll be just me and Brody. And we're going to be reviewing Oregon's 42-27 victory over USC. We're going to break down the bets that we recommended for that game. Then we are going to provide our takeaways and then predict the college football playoff rankings that will be released on Tuesday. All right, ready to get into it, Brody?
Yeah, let's get after it.
All right. So, yeah, like I said, Oregon came away with the 42-27 victory over USC. Bryce Betcher, I think he was the standout. He had 13 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He also scored a touchdown from 1 yard out on senior day as well. Noah Whittington, 19 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Davison, 13 carries for 50 yards and a touchdown. And Dante Moore, he threw a interception, but he also had 257 yards and 2 touchdowns. First time in his career that he's had 250 yards in back-to-back games. Brody, what did you see from the offense on Saturday?
Yeah, I just thought it was like a really balanced attack. I feel like our screens were actually working, our quick screens that everyone just hates on, just an extension of the run game. And I thought our receivers blocked their butts off and just kind of dominated the USC DBs. And we're down to our 4th and 5th tackles. Isaiah whirled out. Harkey got hurt mid-game. Poncho got hurt, and we were still moving that USC front like it was the Red Seas. So it's a soft program, and Oregon came in and started their dominance in the run game. And I thought the pass game, other than the one interception by Dante Moore, was pretty good. I mean, Dante was ripping seam shots. He was taking shots when needed. I feel like he was making the right decisions overall. So I felt pretty good about the offense, and nothing says like having fun and trusting your guys than putting Bryce Betcher at running back with Big Bear Alexander at fullback. Like, that's just a fun play. Senior night gets the crowd going. So I thought we came in with a great game plan. I didn't think Stein got too cute, and I thought that Oregon just dominated on offense in general.
Yeah, I think a big part of that was getting Kenyon Sadiq for the second straight week involved early and often. He had both of Dante's touchdowns. One that stuck out to me was I think it was in the third quarter when Dante ripped that seam shot, and it was just a perfect ball. They said post-game they thought it was going to be man coverage, but it turned into a cover 2 look, which you're not supposed to throw a seam against cover 2, but it turned out that perfect pass, perfect catch ends up being a touchdown. He was the leading receiver. Also, special teams was huge. Malik Benson, 85-yard punt return touchdown in the second quarter. It was 14-14 at that time, and that put the lead at 21-14, and the Ducks never gave up the lead. That was just a huge momentum builder. And we haven't seen that because, I mean, Malik Benson's the second string punt returner behind Gary Bryant, who was injured. And so that was a huge boost in the game. Defensively, they held the Trojans to 50 yards rushing, 1.9 yards carry. That was huge because they're not the most physical team, but in order to establish their passing attack, they normally want to get it going on the ground, get the play action pass going, and they kept trying to run the ball, but they didn't have much success. So, but they did have success through the air. Brody, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Lincoln Riley's offenses are always a lot better when he can establish a run game. It makes it so our pass rushers can't fire off the line. They when you obviously know it's the pass rush set, it's easier to rush the passer than do a transition move from run to pass. So we came into the game. USC was 8-1 or 8-0, I think, on games they had over 30 carries, and that just was they had 28 this game, but they just didn't have the success that is needed to sustain that. So I thought our run defense looked really elite there. Our pass defense, which we thought was the strength of our team, number 1 in the nation going into the game, just kind of collapsed. I feel like our DBs just lacked the ball skills this game. They were just not finding the ball in the air. Finney was slipping. I'm not sure if the field was wet or what, but we were grabbing on. And then at the end of the day, Jacoby Lane's just an absolute stud. He made some catches that I don't know if anyone else in the country is making. So you got to give props to USC at some point, and Maava looked really good except for his 2 picks, or at least that first half of the game. So they're a really talented team, and you got to give props where props are due, but we definitely got to clean up some of those penalties.
Yeah, we talked about it going into the game that we both believe that USC could move the ball in between the 20s and then come down to the red zone. And that's exactly what they did. They got the ball into the red zone pretty consistently. And they scored on those chances, but I think it's worth pointing out that Mekhi Lemon had 7 catches, 34 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns, and he also threw one. But holding him to 34 yards, that's not letting him take over the game. I think that's huge. But yeah, it was the Jacoby Lane show. And then I believe his name is Tanook Hines. He's a true freshman. He had over 100 yards. He really stood out to me. Didn't really know a ton about him going into the game, but Maava really wasn't. It didn't look like he was afraid of the Ducks defense, and that's how you attack a great defense is you go straight at them. You don't shade away. You don't shy away. But yeah, Finney, he was very handsy, and I think he's been handsy all season. Teams just haven't tested him, so I think this is a great test, and it's great that this comes before the postseason, comes before the playoff, when teams better teams can't just take away a whole side of the field. They have to target the whole field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that stood out to me is Maava had pressure in his face constantly. I feel like Bear was moving the pocket. Amari was moving the pocket. Our pass rushers were firing off, and he was still just delivering absolute strikes with pressure in his eyes. So, he's a really good quarterback at the end of the day. But we got to clean up the penalties, and I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be able to. I think the passing defense has shown that they stay with their man. It's not like they're blown coverages or they were getting open or scheming up anything that was special. It was just really great throws, really great catches, and just being sloppy. We're in the right position, but we're slipping or we're grabbing. Just stay with them.
Yeah, another thing to add on to that, with the Ducks had over 100 yards in penalties. It was pass interferences, and then there's also a couple just keeping your composure type of penalties where they spun the ball, celebration, or taunting, those sort of things. And you want to bring that fire. And Lanning talked about it. To be a Duck, you have to bring the fire. You have to be able to reel it in and know when to be smart. And we haven't seen that all season, and it needs to be just this game that those penalties come from.
It's a rivalry game. USC talks a lot of trash. The end of the day, those penalties were bound to happen. I still can't believe Jacoby Lane did get booted off the field for trying to start a fight on the sideline or take the ball. I don't even know what that was, but I don't think that will be a problem once we face teams that aren't UW and USC.
Yeah. I think it's one of my biggest takeaways was that this game showed that the Ducks can win in a lot of different ways, especially over the course of the past month, beating Wisconsin 21-7, wet, rainy conditions. Wisconsin's not really considered a great football team, though they've beaten 2 ranked opponents the last 3 weeks. But they're a tough football team, and they beat them, and then they went into Iowa, beat them 18-16, really scratched and clawed that game out, and then beating USC, another great football team, in a high-scoring game. It wasn't. The Ducks played in the trenches well, but it wasn't. It was primarily Trojans putting it through the air, and they still found a way to get it done. I think that shows this team's true national title contender. They can win in a lot of different ways, a lot of different game scripts.
Yeah, like I said, one of the biggest takeaways, balanced offensive attack, and Stein's still finding new ways to innovate and use Sadiq and Jamar Johnson and those new personnels in the run game. I see these motions into different counters. So you have to kick out Black by the guard, and you have Sadiq coming in to pull wrap, but basically from the slot, but it's just a different way to run it. And then there was those freeze pin and pulls where he's faking counter and he flips it out to Whittington. I think we ran that twice, and one was a touchdown to Davison, and then the other one was Whittington. So Stein just continually finding ways to do what we do best, and run best, and just finding new looks to give the defense. So that was another big takeaway for me.
Yeah, I think it was great that Will Stein didn't get cute again. That's always an emphasis because he has that propensity to get cute. Think about the trick plays that he can implement into the game plan. They really didn't need that. They don't ever. I mean, with the talent on the field in the Big Ten that they have, they don't need those trick plays to get going. They have the talent in the backfield with the 3 running backs. Even with DeCorian Moore, Gary Bryant, and Evan Stewart out, they still have talent at wide receiver. And with the tight ends, Jamari Johnson would start on half to more than half of the teams in the Big Ten, and Sadiq's going to be a first rounder. So that was good to see.
Yeah, and nobody stepped up more than Malik Benson. I mean, senior night, that punt return, obviously, we already talked about. Like, he's got serious speed, and his hands were always his problem at Florida State, and just like the teams he came from. But just like he's just stepped up. Like, I feel like he's sure-handed. He gets open. He's a reliable target for Dante. Like, he's a great wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 when Eastu and Dak Moore comes back, and that's insane saying that because I'd be comfortable with him as our wide receiver 2 right now, just the way that he's consistently just showing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could tell that him and Dante have that chemistry. They've talked about multiple times training in Dallas, and they're best friends off the field. So really translates to on the field. So, yeah, do you have any more takeaways? I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
All right, we can transition to what our recommended bet was for the game. So entering this week, me and Brendan had 1-0 records. We nailed the pick against Minnesota. Brody came in with an 0-1 record. I can go first. So I recommended under 30.5 first half. They blew that right out of the water. It was 42 points in the first half. 28-14 Ducks had the lead. So I am 1-1 on the season. Brendan, he recommended Jordan Davison over 53.5 rush yards. He thought that Davison would roll. And for the most part, he did. I mean, 13 carries, 50 yards. He did his part, but fallen just short, which is a heartbreaker for Brendan. So we're both 1-1.
Yeah, and then I also had an under bet. I had under 59.5. That did not hit. I think they were close to hitting the over in the first half, or at least that's what it felt like. So I do think it's worth noting for Brendan that Davison probably would have got that, but it was senior night, and I think Lanning was trying to get Whittington come extra carries, 100 yards against USC. So that's a tough beat for Brendan, but yeah, 0-2 for me. Not a good record. It's okay.
Not good, but me and Brendan still tied for first place with a couple games left. Hopefully a lot of games left. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So we can move on to potential Big Ten championship scenario, which 4 or 5 weeks ago when the Ducks lost to Indiana, it didn't seem like this would be much of a chance because Indiana obviously they're rolling through the league and they held the tiebreaker over the Ducks by beating them, and then Ohio State. They weren't going to face a ranked opponent until Michigan, which is the season finale next week. And at the time that the Ducks lost in Week 7, Michigan had also lost to USC, dropping them to 4-2. So they didn't necessarily look like a contender at all either. But now the scenario is set. Just 2 game results in Week 14 need to happen. Ducks need to beat Washington. And then Ohio State needs to lose to Michigan, and the game's being played in the Big House, so 100,000 people will be cheering against them. Michigan and Bryce Underwood are 9-2. They're also, arguably playing for a college football playoff spot if they finish the regular season with 2 losses. 2-loss Big Ten team could make it in. So, Brody, I pose the question to you: do the Ducks want to make the Big Ten championship, or should they root for Ohio State to win and get extra rest before the first round and have a home game at Autzen, or should they play Indiana in the Big Ten championship? What should they want?
Well, I'm never going to root for Ohio State to win, especially not against Michigan. I feel like Ducks Twitter's got a pretty good alliance with Michigan, but we'll see. Ohio State's lost the last 4 years against them. I think the talent gap is pretty wide. I think if Michigan beats them, they absolutely have to be in the playoff because that's the best win in the country. Ohio State's has looked unbeatable so far this season. Saying 80%. The run game looks good. Their defense looks elite. So I think they should absolutely be in at 10-2 with the best one in the country. And as far as making the Big Ten championship, I just think conference championships at this point are almost useless because people are even talking about if Alabama makes the conference championship, so they just beat Auburn. That's all they have to do to make it. If they lose, they don't even have 100% shot to make the playoff at 10-3. And the committee doesn't want to punish teams for playing an extra game in the championship, but they might not have a choice if someone like BYU upsets Texas Tech in the Big 12 chip or anything scenario like that happens. So championship games, I think they are eventually going to become a thing of the past, but we still have to play them today. I think they're pretty useless, but if I'm Oregon, I obviously want to play in it. I'm all for playing more games in competition and wanting to beat up on someone that we won. And then if we won Big Ten chip, then we would get a first round bye, and they've kind of fixed the format a little bit this year. So, yeah, I mean, I would rather, as a fan, I'd rather see us play in Autzen, but I would be fine with being a Big Ten chip because it's always good to have the competition, and then you have a better setup for playoffs technically. So I don't know. I don't really think it matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm on your side. I think it doesn't. I think if they suffer a second loss in the Big Ten chip, the committee would. It wouldn't hurt they'd still get a home game at Autzen. I think whether it comes against as a number 5 or number 6 seed against the ACC or group of 6 representative, or if they'd be number 7. That's a huge difference. I would lean towards being 6. They would land at 6, depending on how the game goes. But yeah, I think from a program perspective, player, coach, they want to play in the Big Ten championship. They won it last year. They want to defend the crown. First 2 years being in the Big Ten, winning it both years, that would be huge. But there is the big talk about injuries and getting healthy because Big Ten championship is the week after they play Washington, and we've had offensive injuries. Isaiah World didn't play his normal snap count at left tackle. Alex Harkey's missed a game at right tackle. Janoris Wilson, the backup right tackle, missed last game as well. And then all the receiver injuries. I think there is definitely a case to be made both ways. If you don't make the Big Ten championship, you get 20 to 21 days of rest before the first round of the playoff. But like I said, winning that championship, getting a chance to defend it would be pretty awesome. Pretty cool for the program. And getting that first round bye, that's another 20 to 21 days out after that from there. So I think, yeah, you weigh the differences, weigh the ups and downs of it. But definitely, I think as an Oregon fan and player perspective, you should want to be in the championship. Do we want to break down the college football playoff list, Brody?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so my list, I can run through it real quick. This is what I think the college football playoff committee will have on Tuesday night. So number 1, Ohio State; 2, Indiana; 3, Texas A&M; 4, Georgia. I think those are obvious 4. And then 5, Texas Tech. They were there already. And then I think at 6 is where Oregon lands. I think they were at number 7. Ole Miss was number 6. I think Oregon jumps them. Ole Miss was on a bye, so I don't think the committee will love dropping them after they didn't even play a game. But Oregon's win over number 15 USC, that's the biggest win of the season for them. I think that's you can't keep them in the same spot. And then I have 8 Oklahoma. They had a big win over Missouri where their defense was just lights out. Number 9 Notre Dame. They won 70-7 over poor Syracuse. Number 10 Alabama. No changes there. And I think Virginia gets in for the ACC. Pitt and Miami play each other next week, and the winner of that will likely be in the championship. Virginia has, I think they play Virginia Tech, so that shouldn't be too much of a worry. And then I like North Texas to make it in as the Group of 6 representative. Drew Messmaker is having a great season. All they got to do is beat Temple in the season finale. They also need another result. They need Navy to lose to Memphis in the season finale. I think that'll happen. They're both 8-3. Memphis is really good. Navy's really good as well, but I like North Texas. That's sort of a rooting interest as well because I want to see Drew Messmaker on the big stage.
Mm-hmm. That kid's insanely talented. I saw like one of his throws and I literally dropped my jaw. It was like back of his end zone, like back foot, just throwing it like in a whole shot. It was like one of the best things. So I'd absolutely love to see him try to sling it a place like Oregon or in Atlanta or anything like that for the first round. So I think that's a good pick. I don't disagree with anything in your list. I still think Alabama should be ahead of Notre Dame, but there was no result to be able to justify putting them back over, even though I think their resume is objectively just better. I think they beat better teams. They have not better losses, but I just think their strength of schedule and everything is still better. But I don't see how the committee is going to do anything differently. They might keep Ole Miss out of Oregon, but I think Oregon deserves it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think Oregon's in a very advantageous spot. I don't know if they'll get. I mean, there's still a lot to go with the conference championship games, and that's a lot to think about right now. But I think they're in a spot where they can move. They could stick at number 6 with a win against Washington. I don't see them dropping below that, and that means getting what should be an easy game where they'd be favored by double figures against ACC or a Group of 6. So I think they're in a great spot. They're in a great spot where they won't go lower if they win. But all that matters, they have to win. It's a must-win game, and that's what this last month has been for the Ducks, is must-win games, and they've performed extremely well. So
and in different ways, just like you said.
Yeah. So we got Brendan Eberly. This is Brendan Beadle. That's our other podcast co-host. He thinks Oregon should jump Tech and Ole Miss. So I was talking with Brody about this beforehand. I wanted to do that with my rankings. I think Oregon is better than Texas Tech and Ole Miss, but I just can't, like you said, Brody, I just can't justify them jumping 2 teams who are on buys. It's not something I see the committee doing. It's a very big jump. It's a very big statement. So while it's something that I would do and Brendan says they should do, I just don't see the committee doing that.
No, I agree. I think they should definitely be above Texas Tech. I mean, I think the best teams in the country at the end of the day are Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, and Oregon, with Texas A&M and Texas Tech slightly behind them. But, I just don't know if the committee will do it. I feel like they haven't been that kind to Oregon so far, and I don't see why that's going to change, especially with Texas Tech on bye. If they played someone, they looked a little shaky, then maybe you can justify it. But, I'm not sure if the committee would, even if we all would.
Yeah. Brendan also points out that in our Alabama-Notre Dame argument that Florida State is a very bad loss for Alabama now. Brody, I don't know. I was on the side that Notre Dame should be ahead of Bama. Brody, do you want to respond to Brendan on this?
I mean, at this point, Alabama has one of the best wins in the country going into Georgia and winning. Like, I just think that's much more impressive than, I mean, honestly, beating USC or beating Pitt. Like, those just aren't the same level of talent teams as what's in the SEC or the top of the Big Ten. Do
you take anything away from their 70-7 win over the Orange?
I mean, Syracuse is absolutely terrible, but I think Jeremiah Love is a freak, and I think he probably should be second in the Heisman race behind Mendoza right now. He had 8 carries, I think, for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, They won
Yeah.
77. He had 8 carries for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Eight for 171 and 3 touchdowns. Yeah,
Oh,
it's just
171.
insane.
Yeah, that's even crazier. Like
they were up 21-0, and they hadn't even run an offensive play.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a reflection of special teams and defense, but also Syracuse starting their 4th or 5th string quarterback.
Up 21-0 before even touching the ball. Like, you don't hear about that. I still think Alabama should be ahead of Notre Dame. I don't even think Notre Dame should be in the playoff right now. They lost to Miami. I'm going to be adamant, and I hate Miami more than any other team besides UW and USC, and I still think they should be ahead of Notre Dame because they beat them head-to-head. They have the same amount of losses. I don't understand why losses have more weight than wins. They play together, or they played head-to-head. They beat them. They should be ahead of them because why would we schedule these games? Why would Notre Dame not just schedule – I mean, they do, but, continue to schedule 12 terrible opponents and go undefeated when – like, it just doesn't make any sense why we're not rewarding teams for playing good competition and out of conference because that's what we want to see. I mean, teams like Georgia hasn't played outside the South in an away game in I don't know how long. Like, I think it's 15 years. It's something stupid. Like, their average away game is like 80-something miles away, and Oregon's is like 1,200 or 1,500. Like, the disparity between like a team like Oregon having to travel on the road to Rutgers or Iowa or like different places around the country, and like Georgia gets rewarded by like they just schedule like easy away games and then they play their SEC games. It's like, why we're not going to see any marquee matchups in college football until the playoffs ever if the committee continues to disregard good wins.
Yeah. So I totally get your argument that like, why would you schedule these early season games if they're not going to really matter as much, or they're going to hurt you more than help you in the long run? But I think it's the timing in which Miami's taken these losses. They've been in the ACC. I mean, 2 losses in the ACC versus a loss against Miami and then Texas A&M. And those are in week 1 and 2. CJ Card just started his first 2 games. They've won, I think it's 9 in a row now. All of which in pretty impressive fashion. I think they're really rounding into form. So I personally think it's a crazy take that Miami should be or Notre Dame shouldn't even be in the playoff, especially after they made the national championship last year. But
yeah, I think Notre Dame is a better team. Like, don't get me wrong, but they played and they have the same record. And Notre Dame does not play good competition. They lost to the 2 good teams they played this year, Texas A&M and Miami. USC is soft. They have a terrible program. They're the worst. And then Pitt sucks. They're ACC. Like, I just don't understand why they get rewarded because we all saw it. We all knew it was going to happen. As soon as they had those 2 losses, we looked at their schedule and we're like, they're not going to lose again, and they're going to somehow make their way into the playoff. And like, I feel bad for Miami, honestly. They're protecting Notre Dame. I think that's the reason Alabama's behind them at the end of the day, because then they can't have a direct comparison to Miami, and people aren't going to talk about it. So I think the committee knows what they're doing.
I think Notre Dame certainly, like, them not being in a conference is very advantageous to them. They don't play a conference championship. They can schedule whoever they want. They can line up the end of their season as a relatively easy schedule. I mean, Syracuse and Stanford have never been – I mean, Stanford was a football power, I guess, 10, 15 years ago. But when they scheduled the game, they were not a football power. It was not supposed to be a big game. Same with Navy, Pitt, Boston College. That's the last 5 games of their season. They can line it up exactly how they want. But that's not the team's fault. That's not the players' fault. That's not Marcus Freeman's fault. So I don't think you can fault them for that. I mean, they've taken care of business and they've done it in emphatic fashion. So, we can move on to our draft. So just a reminder, last week every week going forward, and in this post game show, we'll draft players based on a theme from the last game. Against Minnesota, Dante Moore had a program record 90% completion percentage, so we drafted the most accurate quarterbacks in Ducks history. And this week we're going to go with top short yardage backs because of Bryce Betcher, his 1 yard touchdown. Nobody was stopping him, so he might get drafted. Who knows? But Brody, if you want to get started, we'll draft. How about just drafting 3? Sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right, sounds good. You can take the first pick. I'll get the next 2, and then go from there.
Ooh, okay. Well, first overall, I think I'd probably got to go Rolls Royce. I mean, Royce Freeman was just absolute stud, Duck legend. Like, when I think power backs for the Ducks, like, we've had some great, like, elusive backs. Royce Freeman's gotta be number 1 for me.
Okay. I will go with tough. I'll go with LeGarrette Blount. And I think it's not necessarily his time at Oregon, but it's just him as a running back, his name. He turned into one of the best short yardage backs in the NFL during his time. He had a long career in the NFL and was always powerful back. He's huge.
I know he had a pretty powerful punch against that Boise State player. So
I was just about to say he packs a powerful punch. So I got LeGarrette Blount for my 2nd overall pick, first for me. And then I think it's tough because this guy hasn't been on campus for very long. But I'm going to go with Jordan Davison. He has 13 touchdowns this year. Maybe a little early, but I think as his career progresses, he has the potential to be known as the best short yardage back in Ducks history. He's just money every time the Ducks reach the goal line. I wouldn't say it's tush push level yet, but every time they get to the goal line, they're giving it to him, and I don't remember a single time that hasn't worked this season. So
yeah, I think the only time I remember getting stopped on a 4th and 1 or like a need to have it down with Jordan Davison was against Penn State. I don't think it's been since. I think by the end of his career, he absolutely would be the best. To say that right now with the talent that's still on the board, that's debatable, but I don't hate the pick at all. So you went Blount, Davison. I think I'm gonna have to go Jonathan Stewart. I mean, another like NFL or guy that turned out to be even better in the NFL than he did at Oregon, but he was still he's a bowling ball at the end of the day. Like he's a great power back. And then between Bucky and LaMichael, those last 2, Bucky has a great contact balance, but I feel like he's more an elusive guy, which I think on like 1 yard need to have it. I kind of like those types of backs. You could also throw Jordan James's hat in the ring there. Like, I don't know if I always prefer power backs close, but so Bucky's an interesting choice, but I think I got Gil LaMichael because he's kind of that perfect blend of both power and elusiveness. And I think if you have 1 yard, you can give it to him. He's going to get it almost every time. So
yeah, I think LaMichael James, he could do it all. I mean, he could do everything in between the 20s, and then red zone, he was also very effective. So it's a great pick there, but I would have gone with Bucky Irving, and that's who I'll go with here as my 3rd pick. And it's just like short yardage backs don't always have to be the biggest guys. They can be small guys. They can be very elusive, very slippery in the pocket or in the hole, and that's exactly what Bucky Irving is. He evades defenders. If the guy gets through the line, he can quick spin move, jump cut, anything to get around him, get those yards. He can turn. Yeah, this isn't necessarily short yardage, but he can turn what looks like a 1-2 yard gain into 5 and 6 yards. He just falls forward and he's 5'9", over 200 pounds. Packs a punch just like LeGarrette Blount. So
best contact balance I've ever seen at Oregon. So it really is a great pick. It was a close one for sure.
So my team is LeGarrette Blount, Bucky Irving, and Jordan Davison. I think that's a pretty good squad. You got Royce Freeman, Jonathan Stewart, and LaMichael James. Brendan says Kenyon Barner snubbed. Interesting. I picture Kenyon Barner as more of an open field guy, but Brendan.
Yeah, I was kind of debating Barner and that last one a little bit too, but I don't know. Still, got 3 great backs. I think we'll run over you for 1 yard every single time, Bjorn. So
yeah, I can't go wrong with him. All right. I think we've reached the end of our show. This was our 4th episode with me, Brody, and Brendan on the side. Hopefully he'll be back next podcast. I think we're gonna do Wednesday evening. So look out for that. Subscribe to the channel. You'll get a notification. Thank you guys for watching and listening. It's Oregon Ducks Live on the Voice of College Football. Have a good one.